Time I've come to realize that I was trying to be three people at a time. One for me, one for you, one for them. Cinematic BAMS films. It's June 4th, St. Louis, Missouri. Here for Karla and Dennis' wedding. They got 12 bridesmaids, 12 groomsmen. It's about to be lit. They already turned up a little bit. So let's go on makeup. So we're behind the scenes of makeup. To keep this short and simple, I shoot makeup in 120 frames because I want that ultimate slow motion straight out of camera. Yes, I can shoot it in 60 frames and do it in post, but from my experience, I like it to be slow already out of the camera. Plus, I like the 120 because the makeup artist brushes be moving really fast and allows me to slow things down, and you can see little particles come off the makeup brush and things of that such. My ISO is around 1600 right here, maybe even 1400 because the makeup artists already have lights there, so I don't have to bring lights in. And then also, I love movement. If you notice with my makeup shots, I always go from the makeup artist to the subject back and forth to create different shots, different movements, because I believe in movement in my shots. So that's what we do behind the scenes with makeup. Then after makeup with the bridesmaids, typically at this point I have to establish location. I'm gonna put the drone up. I fly a DJI Air 2. It shoots in log, shoots in 4K, 5K, all the bells and whistles. But I'm always gonna put the drone up no matter what because I want to establish location where I'm at. And that's pretty much it on this part. All right, good people. I'm at the venue. We did makeup for about 5 hours. Told you it's 12 brides, so got to get set up. Venue, check out the lighting. I wasn't able to make rehearsal, which is important for me when I shoot videos. I like to go and be prepared. Let's see what we're getting ourselves into. So during the ceremony, I do a lot of risky shots, and because I'm confident in myself. I don't want people to watch these wedding films and be bored. So I'm always going to try to switch up the angles of the subjects if I can, if it's accessible in these venues. So during the ceremony of the bridesmaids and the grooms are coming down, I'm going to find different angles from the middle to the right side to the left side. And it's just more for me and my personal opinion. It makes you just want to watch it like you watch a film. I want people to watch this like you watch TV shows. So that's the reason why I change angles. Now, real quick on the back end, behind the scenes, my ISO is cranked up to about 25,000. Yes, it's up there because this place is really down, but I make it look like it's not. And some of that is with color grading, messing with the yellows in the background and things of that such. But the ISO is cranked up. I'm shooting all this in 60 frames per second. Reason being is because if I want to slow it down, I can, and it won't mess up the motion blur because I'm going to render all this in 24 frames per second anyway. So everything is shot in 60 frames. My shutter speed is at 125. I don't want any more of that because it's already dim in this area. And I always remember your shutter speed has to be double your frame rate for the motion blur when you render it down to 24 frames per second. So that's where we at with the ceremony part. Typically, I try to create some shots also with the people that's in the audience. I think it's important they came to the wedding. Let me bring them into the shots as well. It gives a more cinematic film type of look, and it doesn't make your wedding film look boring. Now, with the groom, for behind the scenes purposes, normally the groom comes out before the wedding party, but for behind the scenes, as in the film, I give the groom his own moment. So what I like to do is when the groom is getting ready, it's just really short and simple. There's nothing too complicated about grooms most of the time. You got to button up the blazer, button up the cufflinks, things of that such. But On the flip side, I do make sure I get multiple different angles of the groom while he is walking down. I still don't want his shot to be boring because he spent his money as well, so he should have a moment as well. Now, the moment we all came for. Typically, most weddings, you're going to have the bride exposed in the beginning of the wedding film or the wedding video. I want her to have her own moment of her in makeup before she walks down the aisle. She is primarily the reason why we kind of came to see her walk down the aisle. Only difference with her is I'm going to shoot her getting her hair done because it's very important. Her shots are all in 120 as well. Same thing as makeup. Double shutter speed, frame rate, same la di di, la di die. It's the same thing. But what I do is I make sure I capture different angles, different movements. It just can't be the same thing over and over because it becomes boring. Same thing when she's walking down the aisle. I want different angles. I want to bring the groom in if he's crying. And the crazy part is I have a second camera set up, but I have to make sure I get it on my camera as well because people will stand up and they're right in my camera view, and now I missed that shot. So I make sure I move around with one camera, get multiple shots, as many shots I can, because guess what? I'm shooting all this in 60 frames. So worst case scenario, if I shoot and get a shot for 10 seconds, I can slow it down and create it for 20 seconds. That's why it's important that you shoot in 60 frames if you need to, not if you want to. More so if you need to, so you can stretch the film out or the clip out a little bit more. Now we're on to the ceremony. Typically, ceremonies with the officiant and all the bells and whistles, it lasts about 15 minutes. I do the minimum two camera setup because my camera in my hand on the gimbal allows me to move freely, and when I have a stationary, most of the time it's to like maybe the left of the groom. It's basically I call it my groom camera, but I'm able to um, widen my shots, zoom in on my shots to create different angles or different focal lengths with that one particular camera. The officiant is mic'd up and the groom is mic'd up. The good thing is I don't really have to mic up the bride because she's close enough to the groom and officiant where I can use that audio when she's saying her vows and things of that such. Most of the time when a person is talking by themselves, it's easy to separate the audio and make adjustments where she's by herself. I also believe in important some background music. You know, when you're watching film, no matter what you're watching, most of the time they're important music in certain parts of the film, so you're not just watching someone talk. Remember, we don't want it to be boring, so we want to keep the viewer interested in watching it. Also, during the ceremony, I use their photo shoot as B-roll because I want every 15 to 20 seconds an angle or something to change so you don't get ADD and you're just sitting there watching it and then you get bored and you leave the film and watch something else. Um, the film, I mean, during the ceremony, I do shoot everything in 24 frames. I switch it real quick on the camera in my hand, and then the secondary camera is already set on 30 frames. I put that one on 30 frames just in case I want to slow it down, but I can't slow it down as much as 60 frames, but I can get some slow motion and it doesn't look all choppy. Um, what else? Sometimes I may set up a secondary recorder on outside of a speaker, just in case if that audio sounds better than the mics, which 9 times out of 10 is really not. My ISO is still up to about 25,000 ISO because it's really dim in there. And I think that's about it during the ceremony part. All right, on to the good part, the first dance. So, majority of my clients, they have smoke and Nicole sparkles, and part of it's probably because the way they see I shoot them. I'm not afraid to put my camera in the smoke or fog or cloud or whatever you call it. The camera has weather resistant on it, weather lens, so it don't get all messed up. But the reason why I do this is because typically I'm not about to show the whole first dance. I only want a lot of different angles with a lot of different clips. I'm going to play the song as long as they dance according to the clip. So let's say the song is 3 minutes. I'm not showing them dancing for 3 minutes. Because typically the bride is in her dress and she's not moving around a whole lot. But I want to work the camera through the fog, smoke, cloud, whatever you call it. I also want to work it around the sparkles to create different angles while they're in it. And then also my settings, I'm at 60 frames per second, double shutter speed. ISO is really tricky because it's dark in there, so the ISO may be up to 25,000, but I also may set two key lights that's on them, since it's dim and I can still have a light on them so it's not too dark. But then the tricky part is when the sparkles go up, guess what happens? The place brightens. So now if you got it set on 25,000 ISO, now it's all blown out. So I have to really quick knock my ISO down to, I think I knock it down to about 10,000. Or on the flip side, you can probably just bump the shutter speed up to 10,000. Either way it goes, once the sparklers go up, you have to make adjustments or everything will be blown out. And then when the sparklers go back down, now you have to bump everything back up. It's some work, but it's worth it when you see the end results. All right, so on the bride bouquet toss, I'm free-handed. ISO on this is probably still cranked up. I'm more free-handed because I want to move the camera when she throws it. Now, I still able to slow it down so you can catch the shot when she throws it. And I'm also going to use the audio out the camera because I want that natural response. People screaming, laughing to bring you into the film. Sometimes it's good to import music, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need to let them feel the actual music as it is. Now, on the flip side, when the groom is going for the garter, I'm on my gimbal because grooms they put on the show. It's their moment, so I got to be on the gimbal so I can move around and can be really smooth and it's not all shaky, and I'm just better prepared on the gimbal during this moment than being freehand. Yes, I can do it freehanded, but on the gimbal, as you see, it looks a lot better. And last but certainly not least, the turn up part, the reception. Time to kick it a little bit. I like to get creative. It really depends on the audience. It really depends on what everyone is doing. If everyone is dancing, drinking, kicking it, it makes my job so much easier. All I have to do is sit back and record. Now, a couple different things. One, I'm not on my gimbal. The gimbal to me is just too big to be moving around with people. I'm trying to just blend in with them and get the shot. I also don't put a light on my camera. I don't like really hard light on people unless I really want that type of look. But and plus it's distracting. Like it screams I got a camera on me, and then a person either stop dancing or they not in their natural zone of just having fun. So I never put a light on my particular camera. I still may have my key light still up to add some light into the area, and then I can always adjust everything in post with light and making it light or dark or whatever I want to do. But everything is free-handed, 60 frames. So if I want to slow it down, I can. Shutter speed stays at 125, just so I don't have to go back and forth playing with the shutter speed if I want to slow it down or not. Other than that, that's pretty much it, man. That's how I shoot my weddings, and you get to learn that in like 15 minutes. I also try to find a way to close it out. And that's it, man. Tune in to the next wedding. Each wedding may have different details that I may have done, but thank you for listening and watching.